then from Iran, and we know the beatings that take place in Iran. So they are fleeing because of the situation they're in, and they're seeking safety in this country, and the government's failing to run a system effectively and fairly. We want timely decisions. If people should be given safety here, they need to have that decision made quickly. And if they don't reach the threshold for protection, of course, they should be removed too, but the system's not working. I just think that the government is flailing around here because it is faced with a system and a crisis really of its own making, because it's allowed this huge backlog to grow year on year for such a long time now. Faced with this crisis, it's trying to desperately come up with sound bites, with solutions that just aren't workable.
That was Enver Solomon from the Refugee Council. I'm off now, back at the weekend. I'll leave you in the suitable company of Mark Lobel, who has all the business news. Hello to you, Mark.
Well, Sean, while you go and enjoy a well-deserved coffee, let me tell everyone else about Starbucks' former chief executive, Howard Schultz. He is appearing before a US Senate committee to defend his company's attitude and behaviour towards workers. Chairing that committee is one Bernie Sanders, twice a radical candidate for Democratic presidential nominee, you may remember. Well, in his opening remarks, Senator Sanders accused Starbucks of an aggressive and illegal union-busting campaign. Well, for more on what's brewing here, let's go right over to our North America business correspondent, Michelle Fleury. And Michelle, how heated has this been getting?
First off, I have to say, I noticed you slipped in a coffee pun there. Look, it has been heated in some ways, but in other ways, it has also been enlightening to see those coming out in support of the Starbucks CEO, the billionaire former CEO of Starbucks, I should point out, Howard Schultz. He is under fire. The allegations being made against his former company is that Starbucks was engaged in anti-union behaviour, that it fired pro-union baristas unfairly, it spied on workers. These are all allegations that Howard Schultz categorically denied. In fact, let me just read you what he said. He said Starbucks Coffee Company unequivocally has not broken the law. It was something he repeated again and again. That didn't stop the likes, though, of Senator Bernie Sanders saying that Starbucks had waged the most aggressive and illegal union-busting campaign. Meanwhile, you had former Starbucks CEO Schultz tell the hearing, I have billions of dollars, I earned it, no one gave it to me. So it became this sort of strange balancing act between, on the one hand, these conversations about unions, inequality and capitalism in America today.
One to watch. Let's turn to another potentially high-profile showdown, Michelle, that's been called off. 2 days ago, Adidas was going to take the Black Lives Matter movement to task in a trademark dispute over its logo. Why are they now backtracking?
Yeah, so 2 days after they opposed a new trademark application by the Black Lives Matter group, Adidas actually had a change of heart, reversed course on its objection. The company didn't exactly give a reason why, but a source did tell Reuters that Adidas was worried people could misinterpret Adidas's trademark objections and perceive it as criticism of Black Lives Matter's mission. Given that consumers these days shop in a sort of more mindful manner, the brand may have been very conscious of that. Adidas, though, previously had argued that if its trademark were registered, it said it would dilute the distinctiveness, you can see, of its sort of diagonal 3 stripes. By contrast, the trademark filed by Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation had 3 yellow horizontal lines. So people can decide, I guess, for themselves whether or not they agree with the company. But Adidas does have a history of pretty robustly defending its trademark, dating back to the kind of early 2000s. They fought the likes in America of Forever 21, of Juicy Couture, and at the high end of Marc Jacobs, and also against the designer Tom Brown, where actually Tom Brown was successful in being able to use 4 stripes on his clothing.
All right, Michelle, thank you for that. And here's a rather profound question of the day. Is artificial intelligence a threat to society and humanity? Well, a group of AI experts and industry execs, including Elon Musk, believe it is. They have signed an open letter calling for a 6-month pause on advanced AI development. That's training systems more powerful than OpenAI's newly launched ChatGPT. And here in the UK, the government has set out its plans to regulate AI with new guidelines on responsible use, which some have described as light touch. Well, Well, critics fear the rapid growth of AI could threaten jobs or be used for malicious purposes, but it is boosting economies worldwide. Well, earlier I spoke to Sue Daly from the industry body Tech UK and asked her why some governments and companies fear AI could do us harm.
AI technologies have huge potential to help our economy and our society, to address issues such as increased productivity, to help in the climate change emergency, to help people in their everyday lives. But of course, there are concerns as well around how this rapidly evolving technology is having an impact on the way that we all live, the way that we all work. And importantly, how do we get this right, not just for businesses, but for people in their everyday lives?
Let's get more on the banking crisis now, because Switzerland's government has just approved a total of 109 billion Swiss francs, that's $118 billion, in guarantees related to UBS's takeover of Credit Suisse. Now, that takeover itself was agreed just over a week ago, and earlier we also learned that the former chief executive of the UBS group, Sergio Ermotti, would be back. He's been reappointed 3 years after leaving in what he's called a call of duty moment to handle the massive integration exercise with Credit Suisse. It's a surprise move, so why would the bank turn to one of its previous leaders? Here's Chris Roebuck, a former head of leadership at UBS.
The challenge that Switzerland, UBS and Credit Suisse have, it's massively structural. It's leadership. It's culture change. You're trying to get 50,000 people in Credit Suisse and 75,000 people in UBS together. And together, those banks have assets that equal twice as much as the entire Swiss economy's GDP. So for everybody involved, their reputation is on the line. It's that simple.
He's replacing Ralph Hammer now. His ideas took time to implement, and the person who's back in the job solved many of the problems that the bank had after the 2008 financial crisis.
Absolutely. Sergio Ermotti was there for 9 years. He restructured the investment bank. He improved the culture. He regained the trust. He's a veteran investment banker, so he knows that business. And yes, he's asked for patience, because something on this size, if it's going to work, isn't overnight. And I know UBS are already reviewing who they might want from Credit Suisse, because they're looking for people that are not going to compromise what's been achieved by Sergio over those 9 years.
Now, Chris, I know you think plenty more news on the BBC website. Just go to the business section there. I'm on social media at Mark Lobel on Twitter. And those are your business headlines for today. Stay tuned for more headlines here on BBC News.